So let me ask you, your father, Luis Santiago, which is funny because I actually have a friend named Luis Santiago.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
no, no relation, obviously. But your father is a legend,
Hmm.
in Latin gospel music. So growing up around that, did you ever have this moment where you were like, I want to do that one day? And
Man,
how
yes, I
did you
did.
get there?
Yeah, so growing up, I got to be in a lot of special rooms and a lot of studio sessions. I got to see my dad, you know, be with a producer arguing for hours about a snare or about, a lyric, a line in a song. And to most people, they'd be like, "Man, this is insane. Let me leave the room. Like these people are going crazy." Uh, but I really liked that process. I liked how honestly, when everybody's heart was aligned in the room, the perfect song came out. Not the perfect song, but the best song, the song that was intended to be created when we were all like with the same heart and the same spirit behind the song. So that made me fall in love with music, but I didn't really start to pursue it until I was 18. Um, my dad forced me to be on a song with him, and
Okay.
it was my first time in front of a mic. It was awful. The song is awful. It came out, but I hope nobody ever finds it because
I gotta find
it.
it now.
No,
Now, now, now I'm gonna find it.
no, no, it's so cringe. Thankfully it's under a different name. Like it had nothing to do with what I'm doing now. Uh, but it was very cringe, and I cried in that studio session. Like it was really rough for me, but I fell in love with that process even more, and I was like, man, I see the potential.
Yeah, and you said when you were 18. How old are you now?
I'm 27 now.
27. Okay,
Yeah,
so almost about a decade ago.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, a lot of ours will be like, yeah, yeah, when I was 18. I'm like, how old are you now? Well, I'm 21. And it's like, it wasn't that long ago, but this was a while ago for you. So this has definitely been a process. So after after you did that, you had that experience with your dad, then where did you go as an
Yeah.
artist?
Yeah, so my dad kind of just supported me, and he bought me a camera, and he was like, "Look, I want you to start doing covers. I want you to just record your progress of how you're developing your sound and your voice." And so that's how I started. I started posting videos on YouTube, just of me singing terribly, just like the process of it all. I'm grateful for my dad because he removed any type of shame or any like embarrassing feeling. Even though there were some comments that like pointed out how bad I was, I think it was still good to get that exposure and to just learn. And I was very transparent with people, letting them know where I was and how much I
Yeah,
knew about music, and that created this friendship, honestly, with people online, these connections and these friends, and these listeners, that I just consider family because they are really just backing me and my ministry, what we're putting out there. They trust that I'm, something that will bless their life, like music that will bless their lives, and they put that trust in me because they're part of this journey. They walk with
right.
me, and they see they've been there since the cringy videos, and they're here today, and
The day
they've seen
ones.
my mistakes. Yeah, exactly. And that's honestly what I'm about, is just complete transparency and showing where I'm at with my walk with Jesus, through my music, through my through just how I carry myself.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And then, so you've done all that, and how did you get on Reach's radar? Like, how did that all come about? I know people are like, oh, he just signed. Like this, it could have been years in the making or months of development. So what was that whole process like?
Yeah, yeah. So it's definitely been a relationship didn't develop overnight, like most people would assume. Uh, I started walking with them uh, a little bit before we released De Camino, which is on the Reach Summer playlist.
Right.
That was the first time that I got to collaborate with them in any type of way and connect with them, other than the first time that I was reached out by one of the what by Ace, who's the
Yeah.
A&R at
Yep.
Reach. He was he told me he was just listening to some playlists, some Christian music playlists on Spotify, and one of my songs came up, and he just really loved the sound. And this was a, about a month before the whole De Camino thing happened, before that opportunity happened.
Hmm.
um that day he reached out and he told me that. He just DM'd me and he was like, man, I really, really enjoyed this song, specifically called Todo Por Ti. That's one of my songs that I had released previously to Reach or anything. And so he tells me that, and simultaneously I'm getting texts from Samuel Ash, who's a producer, and he said, hey, Reach contacted me to make a song for their summer playlist. Are you interested? And so I was working with Reach without Ace even knowing, because I was working through Samuel Ash, and
That's
then I was
cool.
connecting with Ace. And so once Samuel Ash presents the song to Ace, Ace is like, "Oh man, this is the kid I've been talking to," um, and so that's how it all came about. Which De Camino's a crazy story. We had to finish that song in like 2 days, and it was 2 days before my wedding day. It was insane, but we got it
Yeah,
done.
that's how it happens. And what's craziest about this story, I would imagine Ace doesn't speak Spanish, so he's basically just going on your sound,
My
which
sound, a
is
hundred percent.
amazing, which
Yeah,
is
it is.
amazing.
It's dude. It's the biggest compliment I think I've ever gotten because, um, really, like most people would say, hey, today the way to get signed is through numbers or trendings,
Right.
and like where are you at? Are you charting? Or is your content or are you the Christian version of this secular artist? Like we see that a lot nowadays. And so I just never played that game. I just released the best music that I could do.
Yeah.
um and and I was discovered completely just because of the sound, and that's
Yeah.
the biggest compliment I've gotten.
Yeah, that's what's so amazing about music. Like you don't have to know what's being said or whatever, but you could tell when somebody's got it, right? Like like even in music, if you don't necessarily rock with that style, you could tell if that person's doing it well or not, even
Right.
if, it's not what you like. And then you think about all these artists and bands and stuff who perform all over the world, and the whole crowd is singing their lyrics in English, but they're like in Poland or they're, like
Hmm.
Ukraine or like somewhere else overseas, and everyone's just singing the words and they don't even speak that language. And that's
Yeah.
what's so powerful about music.
Yeah, no, it's insane, and I'm glad that it cut through. He told me he Googled the lyrics, he translated them, and he was like, "These are
Oh,
good
that's cool.
too." So, um, I just I valued that. I valued that so much.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. That's great. So you're actually kind of making history too, because you're the first person on Reach who's going to do exclusively, Latin, Spanish music.
Right.
So how important for you is like bridging that gap, especially with Reach Records and the standard they have for, Christian hip hop and music and for what you're bringing to the table?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. It's intimidating, but really, what where I get to rest is knowing that um, I I I may have been the first one in the door, but I'm not going to be the last. And so this is really
Hmm.
more about the movement than me. And so that's kind of where I'm just depending on God as far as you know the of course, the artistry. I love to put my input. I love to involve God in all my artistry.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I just consider this a movement, and I think it's great that that I got to be the first, you know, to walk in to these doors that God's opening, and just collaborating with Reach is going to be crazy, and take this this Latin Christian urban niche, you know, and blow it up. I think it's going to be amazing. I think CHH has done so many great things for the kingdom, and I believe the same's going to be done for Latin music.
Yeah, and would you consider yourself CHH, or like what would you classify your music as?
Man, I really I guess I wouldn't you know, I make reggaeton, which is technically not like rap, or it's we call it urban, but it,
Yeah, it's
you know,
its own thing.
yeah, exactly. It's its own genre. You know, it's kind of like with Limo Blaze, who's also on the label. I wouldn't call him a hip hop artist. You know,
Right.
because he makes the Afro beats, and it so good at what he does. I would compare it more to something like that.
Right, right. So do you see yourself now that you're on the label, like potentially dabbling into making English music just from a collaboration standpoint, or are you firm like I only make music in Spanish, like that's all you've ever done?
Yeah, it's definitely all I've ever done. I have, uh, you know, over 100 compositions and songs in Spanish that I've written for other artists. It's all I've known. I've never tried, and I don't think I would dabble in that area out of respect for English songwriters, because I would just be probably pretty bad, you know. So I definitely want to focus in what I'm doing in my music, and furthering, you know, the kingdom on this side.
Yeah, I find that answer like pretty interesting too. But I respect it that you're like, no, no, this is what I do and I know what I'm good at. Because for okay, so for people who don't speak another language besides English, and then myself, I'm around Spanish members of my family. They might be speaking in Spanish, and I'm trying to translate what they're saying into English. But for people who speak both languages fluently, they just understand two languages. There's no like, so I wonder if it's like that for you too. I'm speaking in English, you're not necessarily translating it in Spanish in your head. You just know what I'm saying, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
musically for you, you feel like though you can't really do that.
yeah, yeah, and honestly, it's just not right now. At least it's not like anything that I've desired to get better at. I really I really think that Latin music is is kind of, you know, crossing those borders of language, and regardless
Yeah,
if it's in Spanish, it's just charting, and it's just, you know, growing.
huge.
Yeah, and so I just don't see myself doing that. It wouldn't feel as genuine, honestly. I feel like strategically it would be great. You know, I get to collab with all the guys from Reach, all this, all that. Like, on paper, it's great, but uh, as far as my artistry goes, I just don't see myself doing it anytime soon.
No, that's dope, man. All right. So your first single, I'll let you say it. What is it? Tres Deseos?
Tres
Tres Deseos?
deseos, yeah,
Deseos. That's close. I
you
should
got
have,
it, you got
yeah.
it.
Nah, I should have called my mom. Been like, yo, mom, help me out with these lyrics. All right, but it translates to three wishes, right?
Yeah,
So what are those, are there three wishes in particular that maybe inspired that song? Like what's the story behind that?
yeah. So, the song specifically mentions these three wishes, um, and man, it's so rough to translate like Spanish to English, because Spanish is such a just a different language, and we have different expressions. But the three wishes are, uh, number one, that you're here. que estés aquí, trabaja en mí, work in me, and make me new, hazme nuevo. And basically, the place where I was coming from, it's actually a really personal song of just a season in my life where I was struggling, and my last hope was just, surrender and pray and wish, you know, that those three things would come to fruition in my life.
And did they after the prayer and through that, like the testimony behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a second part to Tres Deseos. Tres Deseos is kind of like David in Psalms, where he's going through stuff, and then the psalm ends, and you have to flip the next page to kind of see if he's still
Yes.
heartbroken, if he's still, cursing his life, or if he actually got through this. And yeah, coming very, very soon, we're gonna have a track that kind of closes out that chapter.
Okay, okay. That's dope. I like that. All right, so now obviously you're on Reach Records. You're more, prominent in American audiences. Now we got you on Rapzilla too. So how do you, I guess, handle this responsibility of now watching your platform grow so much now in a short period of time? Now that you're going to have a lot more eyeballs on you, I guess internationally than you did before.
Yeah, yeah. I honestly, I think I'm just gonna, you know, grow and be more consistent in what I have been doing, which is just letting the music speak for itself. Um, and be more sensitive, of course, to different cultures, and be able to show them my customs and my culture. That's honestly something I'm really excited about. Just
Yeah.
just showing people more of Puerto Rico, showing people more of our sayings, of our food. I love cooking, man. And so
Oh, me too.
um and Puerto Rican food is my favorite to cook. So I just wanna bring people into what we're doing over here, the space. There's so many artists apart from me that are amazing artists that you wouldn't believe the platforms that they have already, you know?
Yeah.
So it's exciting. It's exciting.
No, for sure. And I definitely, I'm sure this is in the future, but you could also do some dope collabs with What Up RG actually in Spanish too. 'Cause for a while he was holding it down, throwing out some Spanish stuff. Now
For sure. Yeah.
you even have
No,
that for
definitely.
sure.
I mean there may or may not be some in the vault,
It's in the
but
vault.
yeah.
It's in the vault, everyone. It's in the vault. Um, all right, you mentioned well, since you mentioned the food thing, give me a top five Puerto Rican dishes.
Oof. Man, easy. So number one, mofongo. It's like plantains, and you grab sweet plantains, which is just very, very ripe plantains, and then unripe plantains, which are gonna be green, and you deep fry them. Then you pull them out, you smash them together, and then you put garlic in that smash. You put seasonings, you put all this stuff, and then you deep fry it again. You make it into a ball, and then you eat the ball, and it's so good.
You
Um,
you ever do trifungo?
yes. Yeah, so good. Yeah, you put some yuca in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. Um,
Okay. Okay. So we know
mofongos.
we're
Ex
everyone Google it. We're him and I are on the same wavelength, so we good.
yes, exactly. Mofongo definitely. Man. I love. We have a lot of food we call fritters. It's just fried food. Um, bacalaitos, which is codfish. That's two. Alcapurria is three. I don't. Alcapurria is a mixture of plantains as well. We use a bunch of plantains and ground beef.
Yeah.
Man, I could let me see. We just have so many. Tripleta is probably like mofongo or tripleta is definitely my top one. Tripleta is the sandwich with three meats, and we put some delicious sauces on it.
That's
Um,
a new one for me. I don't know
Oh,
if that
really?
one is. Yeah,
Man, it's so good. It's so good. Pastelillos, that'll be
there
my
you
number
go.
four. And then number five to close out, I'm gonna go with a dessert, and that is quesitos. They're so good. My wife makes them. It's amazing.
All
Yeah.
right, your pastelillos. Do they have the cheese and the olive in the middle too, and the
No,
potato?
no olives, no olives.
No, you do potato and cheese with the meat.
Yeah, we do some cheese, some potato if we want, some ground beef, throw it in there too.
I know
Um,
everyone makes them
yeah,
different.
yeah, we put mostly queso and guayaba cheese and guava paste is usually what we use at home. Um, but that's because we didn't have a lot of money to get protein, but cheese and guava paste, it's so good.
Hey, bro, you can fill those things with anything.
Exactly.
That's what makes them amazing.
Dude,
That's what
dude,
makes them
they
amazing.
are. They are. Honestly, after listing all those foods, I realized how much plantain and how much deep fried food we eat.
Yeah,
It's kind of crazy.
it's it's definitely not good for you. It's
Yeah.
definitely most of the food. Then you add the pernil in there with
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
skin.
Oh,
Yeah,
pernil is
at
so
least
good, man.
listen. At least Puerto Ricans are enjoying life while they're here. But
Oh, absolutely.
it might not keep you here a long time though.
Dude,
All right.
no, everybody on the island knows you can only eat that like once a week. If you do more than that, your stomach's gonna be a mess.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you're gonna be in trouble. Um, we're gonna start talking about food. I'm dying right now. All right. So speaking about Puerto Rico, what's the Christian music scene like out there? Like I know a couple of artists. I know Bianca the Grace,
oh,
her
nice.
husband Borreo. I know Tommy Real is there,
Yeah.
or he was there. So can you talk a little bit about the Puerto Rican music scene and just what it's like out there, and are
Yeah,
there opportunities for artists and everything?
yeah, man, there's such a good movement out there. We have so many good artists, a lot of the ones you mentioned. And honestly, it's like a family out there. We help each other out a lot. We give each other our connections, access to our studios, it's just very collaborative because we want to see the movement grow. We want to
Yeah.
see um, the space be filled and Puerto Rico is a great place for uh church touring. There's just so many churches in Puerto Rico,
Hmm.
so many opportunities to bring the gospel, so many opportunities to the to bring to the youth out there. They're very hyped, they're very tuned in um to what's happening, and they consume like crazy, like uh concerts and events out there uh get filled, you know because people are excited about what God's doing in this space. And there's a lot of backlash sometimes from certain you know characters in this in the space that have a more religious view about our genre and what we're doing.
Right.
Um, but it's not stopping. God's definitely moving still, and and we're just being led. And the day that God's like, put this music away, okay, let's put it away because He's first.
Yeah. I'm trying to think like are there any big Puerto Rican artists like in Christian music that kind of crossed over into Christian music like almost as like doing English rather
Yeah.
than Spanish?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say maybe not urban, but like Christine de Clario. I don't know if you know who that is, but she
No,
is in a lot of like the worship stuff. Let me see. There's Nate Diaz. He does
I've heard
like
of him.
Maverick
Yeah.
City
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
He's a great singer. Um, then of course, Alex Zurdo, Funky. Those are guys that
Funky.
are
Yeah.
been in it for 20, 30 years now, and they're legendary. Um, trying to think of who else. Um, my family members like Julissa. She is in the worship group with Gateway Worship. So we're all over the place. We're only, you know, an island with 3 million people. So
Yeah, it's it's not a big island, but there's a lot of people there.
yeah.
Packed in there. Something I found interesting, like growing up as a kid, especially, my mother speaking two languages, and listening to a lot of Spanish Christian music. But in the 90s, it was a lot of like white or American artists just making Spanish versions of their music to kind of cross over.
Hmm.
Um, like I was wondering if you had like any thoughts of, about that, like just seeing like I would imagine most of these artists didn't even speak Spanish, but they had somebody help them create
Yeah,
a Spanish version of their album.
man.
Like, what do you think of that?
I honestly, I applaud it. I applaud it. I loved it growing up. I remember listening to that Boys to Men album that they did an album, one of their albums in Spanish, and it was, I mean, their accents were thick and yeah, they were messing up like every other word, but like, they gave it all vocally, and everybody knows that they have these crazy ranges, crazy vocals, and so it was insane just hearing that, getting to hear that in Spanish. And you know even though most of the time it's like, because of interest in the market, it felt like appreciated, like you're like, man, I feel represented in a way.
Yeah,
um I grew up also listening to a lot of European music. My dad exposed me to a lot of like different stuff, and Italian and French artists, they always do like Spanish versions of their songs, uh because they know they have that market over here.
right.
And so I've always seen it as a compliment. I've always thought it was something cool. Of course, there are times where it's kind of like, man, you can tell they didn't put any effort, and it was strictly out of like, let me just get the paycheck. But most of the time, I feel like people want to try because they don't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah, I know two that I'm thinking of from the 90s that from from my limited understanding, I was like, oh, they did a great job. We have the legendary Carmen had some songs in Spanish, and Crystal Lewis. If you know
Yeah,
Crystal
yeah,
Lewis,
that's so
Crystal Lewis
true.
did a bunch of albums in Spanish.
Yeah,
And then you had an artist like, I don't know if Jackie Velasquez was Puerto Rican or not,
I don't know
but
if they were Puerto Rican, but yeah.
Jackie Velasquez would routinely do albums in English and in Spanish, and it was
Mhm.
like the same
Mhm.
album, which is pretty dope.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so here's a question strictly just for me. Since you're Puerto Rican, are you a baseball fan?
Yes. Yes, but only of the when we're playing nationally, when we're playing like every 4 years. I don't.
Oh, the baseball classic.
Yeah, yeah. I don't watch base like MLB. Um,
Okay,
yeah, I only watch our team play, and then I know some local teams in Puerto Rico, but that's it. I definitely am more of a basketball fan though. That's basically our two sports.
right. So what do you follow a team in basketball?
Yes, I moved to Oklahoma City when I was like 12 or 13 for like a year. My parents again were in ministry and stuff, so they would move a lot. Um so I got to live in Oklahoma, and right after Hurricane Katrina happened, so they had moved the team to Oklahoma. Chris Paul was playing there,
Okay,
uh, and I actually got to go to like the inauguration game where they had drafted Kevin Durant, and then after that they drafted James Harden and Westbrook. And man, it's Oklahoma City all the way. Even still, I
yeah.
still support Oklahoma, even though Westbrook's gone, and that's like my favorite player of all time.
You know what's crazy is OKC has a huge CHH community now.
Oh
So
wow,
so you were there kind of preemptively, like maybe you took a little bit of
yeah,
that, and now you wind up on Reach Records. But like there are so many, like you would never expect it, but there are so many artists in OKC, like Christian hip hop
that's
artists.
cool. I did not know that. No,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's awesome.
Um,
Yeah, I was living there, the heart of the city, just excited, you know, just and I really liked Oklahoma City. I would live there again. It's cool. It's cool.
They they need you. They need the support for their team. They're actually really good right
Yeah,
now though.
yeah. Shay's holding us down.
I'm a Knicks fan. You guys took Hartenstein, so
Oof.
that was a good move. It's a good move.
I'm sorry you're a Knicks fan, but
Ah,
you know
me too. Me too.
that's tough.
Trust me. Things are looking better. Um, let's stop talking about my depressing life as a Knicks and a Mets fan. All right. Your next single is Celebrar. Um, can you talk about the song for us and what we could expect from it?
Yes, sir. Celebrar is my next single. It is called Celebrate. That's what it translates to. Um, and it is that next chapter after Tres Deseos. It closes out the story um, of these three singles that I've released: Química, Tres Deseos, and Celebrar. And Celebrar, it encapsulates just the gospel. It's just a presentation of the gospel, of this, uh, of basically my story of understanding the gospel, processing it, and finally walking with God. And it's a very exciting song. It was produced by Enzo, who's a producer in the CHA space I got to
Yeah.
know uh, not too long ago. He also produced Tres Deseos. He works mostly with like RG and Hulvey, and the Reach family introduced him to me. Incredibly talented guy. I
Yeah.
mean, I have nothing but great things to say about him. He convinced me to do some trap, so this song is like a trap fusion that we got to do together. It's very cool, very upbeat song, full of joy. It's gonna be awesome.
Do you have an ETA on when it's dropping?
Uh,
You you don't have to give us the
yes,
exact date. You just little
I I
maybe.
I would give you the exact date, but I don't know it.
Okay.
But it is dropping early next month,
Okay.
so yeah, I think very, very soon after this conversation, we're gonna have to start announcing that and getting the pre-save up, you know?
Okay. So you can't get in trouble with an answer like that. Well, it's coming. I don't know the date.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
genuinely don't. I would tell you, I promise.
I'll give you all the answers. All right. So, essentially you're just starting your career on Reach. You have these singles coming out. Besides the songs, what can fans expect from you, and what do you want them to know about you and learn about you?
Yeah. Outside of songs, man, I just want people to understand my upbringing so they can understand what I'm writing about and my heart behind the song. So I really want to connect with them. Um I want to see people out there, so I'm very excited. This year we get to visit Mexico, Guatemala, Houston. I would definitely love to explore the United States more. I'm usually outside of the
Yeah,
state when it comes to performing outside of the country. Uh, but for those new listeners, that are in CHH, that are in the space of Reach, and they're aware of that family, and they're coming in new, I would love for them to understand, you know, why why the song sounds this way, what reggaeton is, where it comes from, and of course, my heart behind the song. Um, and also just to get to know me, like, um for example, I feel like with Lecrae, I've always loved his music, but I feel like it's the last few years, like with the podcast and stuff like that, we've really gotten to kind of know his heart,
right.
and it kind of gravitates to the music. It connects you to the music at a deeper level. Like now I listen to his music and I'm like, man, I can just relate so much more and connect so much more to what he's trying to say and his heart behind it. So I'm really trying to be intentional about, just spending more FaceTime with my followers and with people to connect, like what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I love hearing that. And I think, people are gonna get to know you, and much like I was speaking before, saying people in other countries singing songs in English, you're gonna have a bunch of Americans in very uncoordinated fashion singing your songs in Spanish, on some Reach Records, tour dates or different
Dude,
events that you're gonna be at.
that would be so
I'll
much fun. It
be one
honestly
of them.
would. Honestly, that would be so much fun, even if people don't chant, just so they get to kind of feel the beat in person, hear that reggaeton coming out through some
Yeah.
huge speakers. They're gonna love it. It's gonna be such a great experience.
Yeah, and I think it's like the timing is good too because Latin music is such a big part of mainstream culture now, just like hip hop was before it. But it's cool that Latin music's doing it because, like we said, it's in another language, but it's still able to infiltrate because people understand what good music
Hmm.
is. And when you're a great artist, it doesn't matter, what language is coming out. Just like Ace heard your song and was like, I don't know what he's saying, but I need to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
So it has that effect, and you kind of get to now experience that, yourself, and that's going to be so much fun. I could already
So
tell.
good. So, so good, man. I'm so excited.
All right, man. Well, do you have a final word? Anything else you want to add or say to the people at Rapzilla or your fans that are watching?
Man, I just want to let people know Celebrar is coming very soon. So stay in tune to my socials because that announcement is coming in hot. No pun intended, because I'm, working with Reach now.
I don't I
But
don't get I don't get it.
just, just Cray and Andy's, biggest song, that's all.
Oh, that one.
Uh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that old thing. But man, I think Celebrar is gonna be crazy. I think it's gonna be such an exciting song. And this year is gonna be wild, full of collaborations, full of exciting announcements. Um this is just the beginning, honestly. I just want people to get to know me and then get to know the artists in the space, and then we get to the fun stuff, which is experimenting with, you know the American audience, with people from Reach, with other artists in different spaces. So it's gonna be fun.